All right, guys. So the sales call you're about to listen to was with a business owner who was looking to scale up his company, thought he needed setters and closers, and so that's just a little bit of context. This is the full call, and what I'm trying to show you guys on the sales calls is whether you think it's a good lead, a bad lead, good fit, bad fit, is you just push all the way through to get a decision, and you guys are going to see that on this call. Enjoy. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good, bro. Nice to meet you.
I'm good, buddy. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. I realized before I call, you're a business owner. You're not. Well, I guess we'll get into that, but you own a business, right?
Yeah, that's my question. So I don't know if I'm on the right call.
You are.
But
You're good.
yeah, because I was like, yo, like they do the training, but I kind of need the closer, so I don't know what.
Yeah, we'll go through it, dude. I mean, this is. I was just laughing because sometimes it gets discombobulated because we have reps who are training to become closers. Then we have business owners like you who sometimes they want sales training, but they also want reps. They also want closers. So you're good. I was just laughing because you're probably getting like all this sales rep, and then you're coming to the call. You're like, so what am I getting? So we'll bang it out. We'll get through it. But dude, what is your business called?
Like pretty much lead gen, right? We just use their database for the leads, basically. Like,
cool.
Yeah.
And then where are you based out of, by the way?
So I'm based Toronto, so I'm Canada.
Yeah. So I have a ton of, my whole team is literally like Canadian setters. And the reason was because the dollar's stronger there. So if you pay them, 15 or 18 bucks, they're like, oh, dude, sick. It's like 23 an hour. So, yeah. It's cool, man.
Yeah, man. Nice.
Well,
I'm excited to learn more. I mean, because again, like you have both elements, right? So I don't know. I mean, I have a closer now, so I'm like, do I get the training for him or do you let me know.
Yeah, we'll go through the whole thing, dude. So no worries. So yeah, let's start at the top. The more insight you give me, that'll help me know where to steer it. So what's kind of your goal? Like what are you trying to get out of this? Like what are you trying to get a setter? Are you trying to get training? You're trying to do both. So like what's your goal? Let's start with that.
I think I'm open to either, like probably more leaning towards just getting a setter, right?
Okay.
And for what you guys, I mean, my goal is to scale the sales team. Like I've had to reduce ad spend because my calendars, you know what I mean? It's the classic case, like bottlenecked, basically.
Awesome. That's a great problem to have, dude. It's a great problem to have. Okay. So possibly get setters. Who's taking the sales calls right now?
Mostly myself. Like he'll take the overflow crappy leads, basically.
No, I get it. It's cool. Okay, and then how many calls do you get a day right now on average, like sales calls?
Probably we're averaging 2 a day, but that's with me reducing the ad spend. I can pump it up.
Okay, so let me ask you this: like, why do you feel like you need setters if you only have 2 calls a day? Like, or do you want them to come book more calls for you?
No, I don't know. I don't think I want appointment setters. I'd rather closers, unless you guys focus on the appointment setters, which we've done in the past. Like I'm open to either, but it's only because we're only doing 2 calls a day because I reduced ad spend. We could pump it up to 3, 4.
Well, so we can do either one. I guess what I'm trying to understand, so just you understand where I'm coming from. I typically will try to take or put on a sales rep's calendar at least 8 calls a day. So if you're only taking 2, is it because you're busy doing a task, or is it just like what's the
fulfillment,
okay.
Manage the team.
Okay, so you're still kind of doing everything. What do you do a month right now, revenue wise?
We're doing 45 gross.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then how many people on your team? It sounds like you got a setter, or you and a closer, and who else?
Yeah, back end there's got to be like 6, and then we got one closer. So that's why I'm like literally at that point, Tanner. I'm like, man, do I scale out a team of closers? Do I build it out myself? I've talked to some other companies as well.
Okay.
Like I want to see what you guys have.
Okay.
That's the point. Like it sucks to bottleneck, right? Like, and obviously those 2 calls a day, like good calls, like, and then sometimes we'll get an extra third a day, and then I'll hand that to him. But I would rather the closer take all of it.
Well, so what's the issue with him?
I mean, I'm not giving him the attention fully, like for sure. Like I just don't have the capacity to like train him. I'm trying to kind of get in some training. He's also a little bit new too, young kid, month and a half in, hasn't closed yet, but at the same time, I gave him the best leads, and I have him doing outbound too. So
how many calls has he taken?
Discovery calls. He's taken. I'm having him do full cycle, right? So from outbound to discovery call to demo. So it's been challenging because I have to train him on all three, right? But man, how many calls has he taken?
So hold on, back up. What's your process? You do 3 calls?
No, I do a discovery call, 30-minute intro triage or whatever it's called, and then I'll do a Zoom demo.
Okay, so 2 calls. Okay, and then is that mostly organic or is it paid ads you're doing that?
Mostly paid, bro.
Okay.
Some like referrals, which, you know.
Why do you do a set call? Like, is it just you see better results that way, or like what's the thought process?
You tell me. I've always done it that way, mostly to weed them out and give them the pricing on the call, and then like, yeah, I try to make it pretty transparent. Like, I don't like wasting my time with Zoom demos.
Okay.
What have you guys found? 1 call close?
Well, I mean, at scale, I mean, it works at 45K a month, but dude, let's say you're doing 500K, that's a huge, because you're doubling everything. It's double the calls, so it depends. I'd have to see your funnel, but like, well, I guess I don't need to see it. You could just tell me, how do they book a call? Do they just click on the ad, they go and they book a call manually? That's why. Exactly. So you have 1 of 2 ways to scale, either 3 ways. You do an ad to a 15-minute, which is what you're doing, and then maybe you do some back-end emails, etc. You can do an ad straight to a VSL, and then you have a setter team that's dialing and texting all of them, right? Or you do an ad to Messenger. So pretty much what your setter call or your 15-minute call, that's your set, right? So at scale, typically what you'll see is like you're going to be more aggressive and you're doing more outbound, because pretty much they're all coming inbound to you. Right, so if they don't book a 15, what I'm hearing, you're pretty much just hitting them on the back end with emails and stuff, which is okay, but you probably get more benefit of an outbound. But you're not huge yet per se. I mean, you're doing great, by the way. And there's not a lot of people who make $500,000 a year, but in terms of like where you could get,
that's growth, not profit.
For sure, but I mean, it's either way, dude. It's still just like most people aren't doing that, so you're in a good spot. But you probably could get more production. We can train you on that too, but that's good to know. So. This closer, though, I need to know how many calls he's taken. I know you said he hasn't been trained a lot, et cetera, but like how much is he actually, like 30 calls, 40 calls, 10 calls?
It's a good question, man. Because he's doing his outbound thing too. I don't really track his outbound.
Just the sales calls.
Call it 2 a day.
Okay, but for how long? So he's taking like 30? Like how long has he been doing 2 a day?
A month.
Okay, so he's taking like 90 sales calls or like 60 sales calls?
So discovery calls, well, then he gets ramped up, right? His first couple weeks. In the month, I think he's probably done 25 to 30 calls total from his ramp up.
Okay.
And then of those 25 to 30 calls, again, I'm not giving him great leads. So how many Zoom demos the kid's done?
Okay.
Probably done like 8 Zoom demos. 7 Zoom demos, came close to closing 2 of them. But again, like I know the discovery calls I'm giving him are not great.
No, it's fair. That's
I don't
fair.
know if I'm doing it the right way, right? Do you supposed to give him the good stuff in the beginning? Like I'm fear-based, like I give him the good that I know I can close, like.
Well, if he's brand new, I'm not surprised hearing these numbers. You got 2 types of ways to hire people. You either get a beginner and you really put a lot of time and effort into them, or you get an experienced person. But based on your volume, you don't have enough volume. You're not going to get a top closer unless maybe you could get a hybrid. So a hybrid does both, which is kind of what he's doing. So the reason I asked though is I want to see if he's worth training. I would know after I meet him, but the biggest thing is they got to have the temperament. They kind of have to have that dog mentality where they're going to push until the person buys without coming off too aggressive, right? Because when I tell people, like, I would consider I push pretty hard on calls, but I try to do it in a very tasteful way, because if the other person feels they're getting pushed a lot, that's not good for the sale. But you still want a rep. You don't want reps who are just like scheduling calls out, delayed payments, like you don't want that. You want reps who are getting credit cards.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, he definitely is going to need training, and or the new guy will need training. The way you're doing it, it sounds like you're stretched too thin, and that's not good, because I mean, sales reps do, they take a lot of work, because it's a hard skill. So okay, so 45K, 2 a day. Bottleneck is the sales, and then you're looking more. You're pretty much looking for a hybrid. You want somebody who could do setting, but can also take the sales calls, right?
I would assume so. I mean, like I think if I jack ad spend, I should be able to get more calls on their calendar. And that's been my dilemma, right? It's like, and then my other problem is like, like you sell all these people, then you got to fulfill, and then I'm still in fulfillment a little bit.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah. So
like,
what's the deal with fulfillment? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go to your question. What was it?
So when you're saying temperament for the dog, how do you look for that? Like how?
It's just experience, bro. It's just experience.
Yeah.
Like I was out of the country for 6 months, and I came back, and one of my sales team had 4 guys. I cut 3 and I kept 1. And the guy who I kept actually had the least amount of experience. Literally, he had the least amount, but he's got the biggest nuts. So it works, right? So because you can teach skill, but you can't teach like mentality's tough, because what you'll see is like they won't push hard. I can give you examples. Like if you come in the program, I can show you calls. Like I had a call today where the guy just like, I don't mind if someone doesn't sign up, and I tell people that. Like even you, it's like I want you to feel comfortable, but if it's not logical, I'll push. And I'm like, hey dude, like, 2 plus 2 is 4. It's not 3. And he's like, no, it's 3. It's like, well, it's not. Like you want a guy who does that. And a lot of reps, what they do is when they feel kind of uncomfortable, they won't push because they're just like, oh, well, it's not my business, or like, and you don't want those reps because like it kills your closing percentage. So you're not just looking for someone to take calls. If you ramp ad spend and they don't close, you're going to be twice as.
Because I don't make a lot of profit, like, you know what I mean? Like,
what's your profit margins? Because you brought that up a couple of times. What's your profit?
10K a month I'm probably taking home right now, 10, 15.
Okay, so where's all the expenses, bro? Like
account managers, back end Philippines teams.
For what?
The account manager is a big one, yeah, man. I pay her like 6K a month.
For what? Coaching?
To do fulfillment with the clients. Yeah.
What's your offer? So if I sign up, what do I get?
Like we're just following up with your database, basically. Like, so clean up the database, follow up with the people, more like that.
Like how? Like explain that to me. So you follow up with my leads?
Yes.
Like how? How? Explain that to me.
So I'll follow up with your leads. Like just, hey Sandra, checking in. You've been in your house for 5 years. How's it going? Hey Sandra, happy birthday. Random stuff like that, right? Like
so you're doing you're following up almost with like their clients.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, so I'm just trying to get an idea of where all the money goes. So you got a 6K, you got 6K per month account manager. Where's the other expenses? Like the ad spend's how much a month?
Ad spend 3K.
Okay.
Back end team, software.
What else? Like I'm trying to see, like, because you're spending 35 a month. That's a lot, bro, for that small. So it's like I'm just trying, because I want to offer you a good solution as well. So the more I understand your business, the better. So 6K account manager, 3K on ads. Try to I know you don't have to know the exact numbers, but what are the other costs? Like 5K this
most
guy.
Most of our Philippines teams are like 2K a month. I'll pay them.
2K total, or how much?
2K total a month for full time, okay. Right? So we got like 6 of them. That's 12.
Oh, and what are they doing?
Oh, they'll do planning the touch points. They'll do customer support, Canva. I could probably drop some of there. Okay.
I mean, you'd probably be better off just having 2 full-time coaches and they just do everything. I mean, I'm not going to coach you on that because that's not what you're here for, but dude, at 45K a month, you should have pretty crazy high margin. Like you're pretty much at like 10 to 20%. You're at 20%. You should really be at like 70 because you're so small. So anyways, that's a whole other discussion. We could talk about that. You might also benefit from like mastermind type stuff where we can look at that. But anyways,
I think the good thing too, Tanner, is I think most of our fulfillment styled. So for me, that's why I'm really focused on the revenue, because I'm like, if I can push revenue, that'll be profit. Because those are costs for me. Like the account manager can handle more people. So for me,
so what it sounds like, what it sounds like is you built your back end before you push sales. So you're kind of like, what happens with a business is a business goes like this, and then you kind of have to get fulfillment, and then you go up. It almost sounds like you kind of did this first. Now you're ready to push. So you just need more volume. But yeah, also as a CEO, just as a caveat, the most important thing you can do is sales. So it's if you're busy doing a bunch of other stuff, you got to think how can I offload that to do more sales calls or do more sales? I can help you with this too, but I was doing pretty much all the sales calls till I was doing 100K, give or take, because without sales, the business won't grow. And so, and a lot of the fulfillment, typically it's important, but you can offload that for less skilled people. Like fulfillment's a lot easier than a sales call, right? Okay,
Yep.
so we're at 20 something K. So 12K Philippines, 3K ads, 6K account manager. What else is there?
Softwares, like different softwares we got.
Okay.
That would fill in the rest.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And like it's like I'm giving you Canadian numbers, so it's a little bit skewed. Like if your American numbers at 30%, so American maybe I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a little bit.
Okay. No worries. Okay. Cool. All right. So next thing I want to ask you then is like the biggest struggle is obviously no time on your calendar. You want to push it. What have you tried, if anything? What courses or coaching have you taken for like more sales teams or sales training? Have you done any of that?
I did sales training.
Okay.
He was good. But those were the early days. And then that problem was I was so focused on the bloody sales, I wasn't focused on fulfillment. So it's like that balance, right? Like, yeah.
Okay. And was it literally just sales training for you? It was just teaching you sales?
For me, yeah. Like, let's go through, yeah.
All right, so pretty much so I'm clear, you're doing 45K a month, pretty slim margins. You're ready to scale. You're not spending hardly anything on ads. I mean, I thought it was gonna be a lot more. You want to bring on a sales rep or train your current sales rep. And then are you interested in any type of like, when I say mastermind, just like any type of coaching outside of sales? You're like, no, just help me with sales. Or you're like, hey, I'd also be open to different types of coaching if it helps me grow my business.
I mean, like, we're pretty stretched thin, like on timing right now,
Yep.
but I think right now it's really focused on the closers right now.
Okay. All right. And so for you, you're just like either bring me a closer or get my closer I have up to speed and like obviously help you with SOPs and how to manage them, train them, all that, right?
Yeah, I don't know 100% what you guys do, but like for me, it's like we have the back end dialed, and like you said, I think we're just at that point where any additional revenue is going to be pretty much profit. Like, do you know what I mean? Because we have the capability to take on more clients.
Okay.
So for me, I think it's just go time on sales, and I'm just trying to figure out right now the best way to do this. Do I hire in-house? Do I use an outsourced company? That's where we're at.
No, you definitely hire in-house, but we'll get into what we do. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna go through what I call the 3 pillars. This will kind of break down what we do, what's different about us, etc. Okay, so the first one is elite sales coaching. Now, the difference with what's gonna happen here, this could also be for you. This can be for your rep. Just like think of this as like your team. Okay, so typically what I see in a lot of sales training programs is a lot of times like portal, Facebook group, you'll get some limited coaching, but a lot of times it's lower level reps. Sometimes it isn't, but more times than not, that's kind of what I see. With what we're gonna do, our first pillar is elite sales coaching. So the first thing is all the coaches that are doing this have sold at least $10 million plus in high ticket, right? So these aren't scrubs, these are people who've actually done it. The second thing is you get one-to-one coaching, whether it's, even if you pick a rep, we're coaching you with the rep. So this is we're not just training the rep, like we're coaching you on how to manage. Because a lot of times, like even what you told me with your closer is you're like, yeah, I kind of just threw him some calls and I'm not really training him and I don't know how to train him and like, should I do, like that's a big issue. So the first thing is like we get in with your closer or we'll find you a closer, we'll get into that, but we're gonna give you one-to-one training on how to manage them, KPIs, how to set projections, how to run your sales meetings, all of it. On top of that, then we're gonna work with that closer. And a lot of times it's just frameworks. They don't understand frameworks, they don't understand objections. If they know how to ask good questions, they're able to present your program with what I call the 3 pillars. Like 3 pillars is the big 3 reasons people hire you. And then really get practicing on objections, they're good. So we will either take your current closer and train him if you feel he's good enough. I will also help you, we can also help you interview and see if like he's the right fit. If he's not, I'll be honest with you. I'm like, hey man, you could try to train him, but if he's a 3 and you're trying to get him to a 10, it's a hell of a lot harder than taking a 7 and putting them at a 10. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the goal, that's the other thing, is a lot of times you'll drive yourself nuts trying to take a person who's not very good and make them good. It's better to take someone who's already like a 7 and make them a 10. That's way easier. So the first thing is elite sales coaching. You'll get the Facebook group, the portal. We have 3 group calls a day, role plays, discovery, and then we review sales tape. Plus you have the unlimited messaging with your one-to-one coach, Zoom calls as needed. And then again, we're training you and your rep. So it's like, it's a relationship and these reps are yours. We're not outsourcing. This is your rep. I would highly recommend you do not outsource because what happens is they have 8 clients. The reps are just taking as many calls as they can. They're moving between offers. You're gonna pay 20%. It's not a good long-term strategy in my opinion. You're gonna be way more stressed out. And if stuff doesn't work, they're not gonna have a good answer for you, and they don't care because you're just one of a million clients and you're paying double. That's not, in my opinion, I wouldn't do that, especially at your size. You'd be better off finding one solid closer. You can scale to 200,000 with one guy. Okay? So that's pillar number one. The second pillar is interview opportunity. So what we do is if you come in our program, we would allow you, if you will either train your rep, or if you're like, hey, he's not the guy, we'll let you interview as many people as you want until you find the right fit. So we actually have a certification program where we get 60, 70 reps a month. A lot of these reps, in your case is good, come from sales backgrounds. Why do they come work with us? They're like, hey, I make 250 to 300K a year, but I'm tired of this. I want to work from home. So they make money, but they're tired of going to the office. So what happens is they come in, we train them, we just move their skills over to remote closing. They're great fits. They get sales, they work hard, they've been pushed before. Those guys are great fits. You can also find beginners if you want that, but again, we will give you an assortment of selections and you choose. Okay, so that's pillar number two. The third pillar is probably the most important, is it's free replacements for 90 days. Now, the reason, what that really means is free replacements for life almost, because in 90 days, if you don't know if you're keeping your guy, there's no reason in 90 days you shouldn't know. So if you put them in and they suck, you ask us for a new one, move them out, we bring in a new one. Move them out, we bring in a new one. Now the goal is the first time, but the reason we do that is it puts your mind at ease that all you have to do is pick the rep, and even if you, because you're the one who chooses, we'll make suggestions, but it's your choice, it's your business. But if you mess up, then what we'll do is we'll replace them for free up to 90 days, okay? The only reason we don't do it past 90 days is like, if you do something, like you have to understand it's still a relationship with an employee. So if you're being a and they leave, after 90 days, we're like, hey, you liked him. The reason he left is because X, Y, and Z. And then you can pay us again, but we do have to do a window because otherwise people abuse it. But I'll just be honest with you, in 90 days, like you usually know within 2 months if you want to keep someone, because that's enough. Yeah. That's enough stats to see if they're good. And a lot of times with sales guys, it's sink or swim. Like if they're not picking it up quickly, it's very unlikely they're going to pick it up later. I've had one guy, he's on my sales team right now. The first month he went like 0 for like 30 something, or it was like very terrible. And this month he's closing at 60%. So he picked it up very fast. I think the biggest difference is he wasn't being trained. He got a little training and then he did well. So your guy, I'm not 100% certain on, but if you start training him hard and he still doesn't pick it up quickly, they usually don't. It's just like they got the mentality or they don't.
I get it.
Okay? So those are the three things we would do. First one is elite sales coaching. We take you and your rep. We work together for you, KPIs, projections, how to manage, how to run sales meetings, your script. We'll fix your whole script to make sure it's easy to sell. Like, you got to remember you're the CEO. You can sell a lot easier than your team. They're not going to sell as good as you because you're the superstar. So we do that. Then on your sales reps, we're training him one-to-one, 3 role plays a day, group calls, Facebook group, portal, one-to-one coaching, calls as needed. Okay, so it's a symbiotic relationship where we're working with both of you. That's why it works really well. Lots of companies, either they only place reps with you and then it's like, good luck. So, like you're basically just paying a placement fee. And then number 2 is they're not gonna work with both of you. They'll either just train you or they'll just train the rep, but you gotta deal with it. What we're trying to do here is take that pressure off you so you can keep running your business and we'll get your sales team up to speed. Second thing is then the guaranteed interviews. We'll get you as many interviews as you want. We get 60 to 70 new clients a month who pay us money. So here's the best part too, they're actually committed. Getting free sales reps is not actually the best typically because they don't give it. These people, they've paid us to train them, to get them placed. They want to win. Like they care. So we'll do that or train your guy. Either one's cool. We'll figure that out if you come on board. And then the third thing is the 90-day placement guarantee. So anytime if it's before 90 days, you get free replacements, okay? If you keep someone after 90 days, like you like him. There's no reason to keep someone on that long. If you don't know by 90 days, like you're not doing your job right, okay?
And they should close a couple by then, yeah.
Oh, dude, I mean, they should close way more than a couple. Like if you're training someone, like if you have one guy on your sales team and you're training him every day, or we're training him every day, like, and then on top of that, like if you want, we do have an option after. If you want us to manage your team ongoing, we'll manage it for you, right? But I think the big thing for you is like, one, make sure you got a good rep. Okay. And then two is just make sure everything's fixed. Like my guess is your script might be a little ugly for him. We got to check your SOPs, your projections, your KPIs, how you're tracking stuff. There's just a lot of little things that, when you don't know, you don't know. And it's a little different when you're closing from someone else. Like you got to have stuff airtight and gridlocked so that you can scale, because at scale, you got to make stuff repeatable. Like guys like you and me can get away with stuff because it's like our businesses and we can just get on calls and wing it. Like you can't do that with sales teams, because if everyone's doing their own thing, guess what happens? Inconsistent. When everyone's doing the same thing, that's when you scale. So it has to be consistent. I think that's it, man. I mean, in terms of the pillars, is there like, do you have any questions around that or anything that's not clear?
I get it, man. Yeah, like you hit it on the head. Like right now, we're literally looking at guys that are either doing, like we're looking at people that they'll close for you, or they place them in. And then like the only worry I have with like the placing in my business is like, cause I had this happen before. The one guy got placed and like the dude was hitting up on Slack all day. Like I got fed up with it. I'm like, man, I can't handle all these questions. Every question about every thing, and I'm like, yo, I want to help you, but like also like I can't babysit you, but at the same time I know you need the help. So I'm like, what do you do about that?
So it starts with the hiring. So to me, the first thing that I would look at with you is I'd show you how to do interviews properly. I've hired over the years, I mean, my team's been as big as 100. You have to have a very good interview process. So the first thing is you might be hiring the wrong guys. What I see a lot of time happen in a business your size is you're just hiring the first guy who pops up because you're desperate. You're like, dude, I need someone. Okay, you'll take it, and you just hire them. I have some positions I'll wait 6 months before I hire. Because what happens, dude, is if you start spending time with the wrong person, it's like the wrong girl. It ends up being a massive waste of time, and then you got to find a new girl, right? So same thing here. That'd be number one. But then number two is it sounds like to me like you might not have SOPs, you might not be training right. Like there's a lot of ways to leverage your time and also train him at the same time. So for example, if you're taking 2 sales calls a day, he can follow you around and learn and listen while you're still taking a sales call. Like that takes no extra time. So I think a lot of it, based on what I'm hearing, it's a lack of management and organization and SOPs, but you don't know what you don't know because you never built a sales team before. Like I've built many sales teams, right? Hopefully that makes sense.
Like I used to be a top closer at an agency, but that was for 3.5 years. But again, that was my self closing. So like I would crush, but so then what would you say is like what are you guys like for the closing end? Like what's the niche that you guys do the best with? Like what's your bread and butter? Like what kind of businesses? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, and what do you sell your offer for?
A month.
A month? Do you sell anything? Do you do anything like? Do you do like bulk package? So like you're like, hey, for a month, or like for like 6 months or something.
I tried the annual plan. I've tried it, but I didn't really push it.
Okay.
No, I tried like twice.
We can work on that. I think the first thing we need to do is we need to work on your script, your KPIs. I need to look at your offer. We'll do that with you. That's part of what we do, because again, if we just bring a sales rep in and you have chaos over here, it's just going to be chaos for the sales rep. But yeah, we work with a lot of these types of businesses. You're still a high ticket offer. A month is a high ticket offer. That still works. It's also basically residual. So that'd be great for sales reps, because sales reps, it's like, hey, as long as they stay as an account, they can build a book of business. Book of business just meaning, hey, I sold that guy last year, but I get paid on it. That actually is a sexy aspect. It's good for you too, because if they fall off, you don't have to pay them anymore. I kind of like it. But yeah, we work with a lot of B2B, B2C. You got to remember, I built a multi-million-dollar fitness company. I built a 7-figure tech company. I have a 8-figure, B2B company, Elite COs, and then we have the sales training and recruiting agency. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So then what do you suggest paying these guys, Tanner? Like, what's your like go-to, like what's the typical,
It's usually 10%. It's usually 10%.
10%.
Yeah.
Of like just recurring. So like most of the offers are recurring.
Collected. Yeah, what they collect. It's all about collected. You don't pay them on anything they don't collect. So with you, that's also why, dude, I think you're missing an opportunity. Like you could easily, like let's say it's $1,500 a month. You look at your average, churn. So like when do they fall off? And then you make an upfront offer. So like, for example, you'd be like, hey, it's a month, or you could pay up front for 6 months or something like that, where it's a deal for paying in full. And then that also could help your company scale a little faster. That's just a side note. There's a lot of stuff I think we can do, but the big thing I want to impose to you is what we do is we bring the business owner and the reps together, and then we put the guarantees in place with the interviews and the placement so that you get what you want and it's not a risk, right? Because otherwise you're like, well, I'm going to pay you. How do I know if I get a good rep, et cetera? It's like, because we guarantee as many interviews until you're happy. You're the one who makes the decision who you hire. And then we have 90-day placements. So, I mean, let's say you hired wrong 6 times. You could still keep getting a new rep as long as it's within 3 months. And like I said, I would tell you within 3 months, Mike, dude, you need to fire this guy. They suck, right? But you're the one who makes the decisions anyways. We just set up all the interviews and we give you their resumes. We tell you their experience. And then part of it, right, is if the reps come to us, they're like, hey, I want to make X amount. We have to put them in those types of opportunities. So more than likely, you're going to want a hybrid because you'll get a better sales rep if you're like, hey, I'll pay you X amount to do sets and I'll pay you 10% because then they can make more without you having to be $100,000, $200,000 a month company. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd recommend.
Got it. So as far as I understand your service, it would be, I mean, yours is more all-encompassing, which wasn't 100% what I was looking for, but yours is more all-encompassing. It's focused on the sales, but also other stuff.
Yeah, and dude, if you want us to back it off, we can, but I wouldn't recommend that because, again, what happens is, like, if you bring on a rep in a chaotic system where there's not good SOPs and management set up or training, and, like, so let's say hypothetically, you're like, just give me a rep. I just want a rep. I'll send you a rep. But if your system is not set up properly to begin with, you're just basically building a house on sand, and as you get more reps, it's going to tumble over. I've seen it 100 times because a lot of business owners, as they scale, you just don't know what you don't know. Like I've done as high as 1.7 million cash collected in a month. Like I know what volume looks like, and I know what sales teams need to look like. So yeah, if you're like, hey, that's too much, great. But I just want to let you know, like, we do A to Z because, you know, if the business owner is doing wrong, it's not going to work when we throw in a rep. It doesn't work well, and vice versa. I just see it all the time. It's like ads, right? So yeah, just run my ads. I'm like, but dude, your follow-up sucks, your sales team sucks, your emails suck, your ads suck, like, and they think it's this like simple fix, and it's not. So that would be my only advice to you. We can do whatever you want, but I want to let you know, like, you know, we can take good care of you, and we knock it out of the park for you if that's what you want to do. I mean, I feel very confident we could help you.
Yeah, like, so you're saying the 10% you pay them no base, don't pay them a base?
Not unless they're doing setting. So like if they're doing setting, typically you could do like $5 base plus 3% of sets that close. But yeah, you don't, like, closers gotta eat what they hunt, dude. Yeah. Okay. And then what do you guys charge? Like, what is your pricing? And how does that work? It varies on the amount of reps and setters, but you only want one, right?
I think I can only handle one right now.
Yeah, so what I would charge you, now granted, this is if we're gonna do all the other stuff I said, right? The management, the KPI, because I think you need it. If you just want a rep alone, it'd be a little cheaper, but I think like the best solution is you come in and you do everything. So what I would recommend you do is you come in, I would have you come in and do 3-month program with the rep, right? And then remember, the rep would extend past the 3 months. So if you get a rep and they don't work, that extends. But I'd have you come in, you do a 3-month program, you work with my sales coaches, we get all your systems fixed and stuff like that. You can get training, we get the rep picked out, or we train the one you have. I do 3 months for.
And then, so when you're saying it don't work out, like, so if you work with a rep for 2 months and you want another one, it doesn't roll over. It's not like that next rep gets 3 months. Like, that wouldn't make sense. Just 3 months.
No, they do. So what would happen is, like, if in 3 months, the first 3 months, we're getting all your systems and KPIs and stuff set. We're helping manage them. So here's what you need to understand. We help manage the reps with you. So we're not just giving you the rep and then good luck. It's like we're managing them and we're coaching you at the same time. Like, hey, here's what we're doing with the rep. Do you get this? Now, if for whatever reason the rep needs to get replaced, most of those systems will be in place, but it's like, hey, he sucks. So yeah, we will still work with you, right? But if we need to replace the rep, that's indefinite until you're satisfied. That's a 90-day guarantee on that. So to answer your question, it's like technically once we set everything up, you're not going to need that forever. But as long as you're still training a rep or replacing a rep, we're basically still working with you anyways. Does that make sense? It just might be in a lesser capacity once we get your system set. Because we set up your script. Once your script's ready, good. Set up your systems, good. Get your setter sheets, good. Sales sheets, good. KPIs, projections, good, right? So if your first person doesn't work out, we'll still work with you because it has the 90-day guarantee, but most of that's in place. So then it's like, hey, we're just purely focusing on the rep, or we're doing less because we already did the hard work in the beginning. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. And obviously you want it to work out, obviously. Like,
yeah, because dude, it's a huge waste of our time. Like we don't want to, because then we have to keep working with you for free. And so don't get me wrong, like I like getting paid, but it's like we have issues, but we want to make sure you're happy, because if not, it just taxes out of our system. And we don't have issues a lot. Like I'd say 80% of the time we're fine. You don't have to replace, because remember, we're coaching you through it. So I'd be like, ask these questions, look for this personality. Another thing you can do too, and I'll train you on it, is you can have them take practice calls. So if they take a practice call before you ever hire them, you already know where they are 1 to 10, right? But a lot of people don't do that. There's just a lot of tricks and things that'll save you a lot of time. And then again, we're overseeing it and watching it to make sure you don't. So it's one of those things, like the way this offer works, it's like if you want to do it on your own or outsource it, I would not outsource it. I would do it on your own before you outsource it. Outsourcing is always going to bite you in the ass, because they hold all the cards. And if they ever turn it off, or you're left like, dude, like I can't, I'm running 100,000 a month. I got all these clients, and they're like, yeah, like XYZ. And then you can get in a very bad situation. But if you want help doing it and doing it right, and then also I think setting yourself up for the future, that would make sense to me. I mean, that's what I would do, but you know, I'm not you. I'm just trying to kind of like, I'm just trying to guide you.
I appreciate it, Tanner. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's like definitely been, I've only been focused on this for the last like week and a bit. And so like, this is I do agree with you. I think like in-house is good. Let me see. What's the other one? So then what happens? How do I then get away from, because again, I had that problem in the past where like, man, I'm getting like 50 different Slack messages from that person asking me a bunch of questions. Like, how do you handle that? Like, and what do you recommend for like managing that? Because that's what I'm worried about.
You set expectations. So first thing is, remember, we're going to help you manage them. So that's number one. So that's going to take a lot.
Like what would the account manager do?
Yeah, so we put you in a base camp where you're both there, and we're training the rep at the same time. So you're more of like, we're helping you with account management, your scripts, SOPs, processes, how to train him. And then with them, we're also setting expectations and training them also. A lot of it, dude, is setting expectations and knowing how to train. Like, so for example, if you had, let's say hypothetical, you're like, hey, we have one meeting a day for an hour, and then you shout at me on sales calls, Like, they shouldn't have a ton of questions if they've done that. Probably what happened is you brought them on, you told them what to do once or twice, and then you're like, good luck, and that's why they're bothering you so much. You're just doing it wrong. So there's a right way to onboard and train, and there's a wrong way. So that's part of what we'd help you with, because again, when you don't know what you don't know, you're going to learn the hard way. And the hard way is like kind of what you just talked about. Bring them on, they don't bother you, you're busy, you're like, dude, what the you offload them, you get another guy. I mean, this guy right now, he's taking 25, 30 calls, hasn't closed. That's not a great start. So there's stuff you're missing and not doing that we would help you with, and it just comes from experience. Like, I've had 100 employees at my highest point. I mean, I know, dude. It's just like I've seen it. I've seen it all. Anything that bad that's happened to you has happened to me, for sure.
Yeah.
So
you're saying basically like, so you like the process is basically, this is the process. So boom, start happens. You guys immediately, like I probably fill out a questionnaire. You guys go look for a certain rep, or you already have them. I start interviewing. Like, what's kind of this, give me a framework of how it would work.
Yeah. So first thing, you come in, fill out your questionnaire. We meet with you, etc. We first probably would start with your current rep, see if he's good enough. I'd give you advice. You make the call, but if I'm like, yo, he ain't good enough, this is what I would do. You get rid of him, or we train him. If we start training him, we'll start setting up all your stuff. Setter sheets, sales sheets, KPIs, projections, back-end automations, what he needs to send, how he needs to close. Like, we're going to train him, right? Because, like, I can sell anything, dude. Like, it's all the same. It's like most people don't know, but it's just different it's the same frameworks, different, like, pillars and stuff like that, but it's all the same. If we go with someone else, we bring you in, we set all your while we're sending you interviews. You take the interviews, you pick who you want. Once you tell us who you want, we'll start training them solely. We start the 90-day clock. Before 90 days, if you're like, hey, this guy, move him out, we start another 90-day clock on someone else. If you like him, you're like, great, stamp of approval. We're like, awesome, your 3 months of coaching is ended. Do you want us to continue to manage him or work with you? Yes, we manage him. No, you don't. And then we part ways. So the goal here is like, we're not just giving you a rep, like we're trying to set you up for success for the future on any sales rep you bring in. Because dude, it's like, this ain't going to be your first time and last time. It's going to be, you're going to continue to have to train team members. and you're going to continue to have to build sales reps, especially if you have aspirations of having a 7-figure business. You're going to probably need a couple sales reps.
Mm-hmm. And so you're saying like after the 90 days, you just like re-sign it and just keep the coaching
It depends.
going,
No. It's not usually, it depends. So like if you just wanted management, we would figure out a different fee, because like ongoing management's a lot easier than getting them started. I mean, getting them started could be a nightmare, but ongoing management would be different. Or you're like, hey Tanner, I want you to do this. Like we just, for the 3 months, what I'm including is like we're getting your business fixed and helping you learn how to manage, train, hire SOPs, and then we're also finding you the rep and training them. That's the biggest bulk. After it's ongoing, especially if your rep's a badass and you're like, yo, can you just manage my sales team? We have fees for that. It's usually a little bit lower. It's a retainer, it's recurring, but those are easier because once the reps are doing it, it's just kind of keeping a bottleneck on it, right? Did they send out their stuff, their texts? Are they following up with people? Stuff like that. So but that's your decision. Yeah.
Do you review sales calls or?
Oh, dude, of course. I mean, what do you? That's the whole point. Yeah. That's all. That's all we're doing is reviewing sales calls like crazy. I mean, that's all we're doing is reviewing sales calls.
Yeah. What would the retainer an estimate be? Like, just so I know my numbers.
Yeah, probably like so at the end of the 3 months, if you want it, probably around the mark, something like that. Okay. And then what that would be is you'd have a dedicated
for the next 3 months or whatever. Then you just keep going every 3 months
or whatever you want. Yeah, like we would do it month to month. After your first 3 months, you can do month to month. It's whatever.
Month after.
Yeah, if you want it. Like if you're like, hey, I don't want to manage it, that's fine. Now, if you wanted us to manage it like day one, what I would probably do is like if you wanted me to manage it day one, I'd probably charge you because we would just take it day one. But after that, we'd go down to, but that would just be you're like, hey, I literally don't want to do anything. Don't bother me. Run my whole sales team. So that's a little different. But with the one we're doing right now is like we would help you set everything up and do it. And then at the end of 3 months, we're like, here you go. Does that make sense? That's the difference. It's just like, do you want us to do it forever? Or do you want us to hand it off? And then the only way the price would go up is if there's more sales reps, right? So if we have to take on, you're like, hey, I want to build a team of 4. We're like, all right, dude, that's a lot more work. We would come to you and we would discuss those terms. But I wouldn't focus on the retainer for now. Like if I were you, it's like, if you want to learn this process and get a sales rep, I would start there. I wouldn't start with like, I don't think you need to think about retainers and stuff yet, but I mean, it's totally your call.
I mean, it's just like, so I can look at, but yeah, so USD, so Canadian, I'm on the opposite end. So it's about on my end. So that would get started for the first 3 months. And then, yeah, it's about on my end. And then after the 3 months, it'd be a month US after for like ongoing coaching, like they take it over. And then if you need to keep scaling out more reps, if the price changes, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
It does make sense. So then what do you said the hybrid thing. So like, this person would just be a closer you're thinking? Or do you think I need the hybrid appointments that are closer? And like, yeah, what do you think? So you mentioned like, you think I might need a hybrid where it's like someone where they're not busy with the closed calls in the very beginning, they can go and like do appointment setting.
You need both. You don't make enough money to just have a closer. So what I would recommend is we bring on a hybrid who can do both. So here's what you could do. Let's say you bring someone on. What will happen is, hey, I'll pay you. Let's say you're like, hey, I'm going to pay you $3K for setting or something like that. And then you're also like, I'll pay you 10% of sales. Yeah, because it depends. Because like at $45K a month, the most they can make is $4,500 at 10%. It's not enough. So either you're going to way overpay, or you got to get them to do other stuff. So think about it. A sales rep who's taking 8 calls a day, if you have 3 calls a day, he can take 3 calls a day plus set. Now, if you scale up, then you just take away the base and then you just move them straight into commission. But you need a hybrid. What was it?
You put that in the agreement that like when he's getting X amount of calls per day, then he doesn't get base anymore type thing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude, it doesn't matter as long as they're making what they want to make. So like, let's say a rep's like, I want to make $8,000. There's no way for them to make $8,000 with 10% commission. So you're like, look, you'll make $50K a month, $5K commission, plus I'll give you a base to do all these things too. So then they're like, okay, cool. Like you just have to make it feasible. So with you, unless you want a completely brand new closer, which is what it sounds like you have, and you want to train him, you're going to need to go hybrid because there's very few people are like, I'm going to take 3 calls a day and make $5,000 a month as a closer. Most of them are like, they want to make 10K plus.
Got it.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
But we worked through those logistics with you. But yeah, like I would recommend a hybrid because you get a higher quality candidate, or we train your current guy, right? But the hard part is like when you're building a team and you're small, you typically have to hire for potential, but that's not a great way to keep scaling because experience is way easier. Like you'll feel so much less stress because all that stuff that they were hitting you up about, that's lack of experience. That's why it's happening.
Yeah, no, that one guy drove me crazy. That's why I kind of like, I became jaded with the 10, and I'm like, let me just close everything myself. And then you get to bottlenecks, and then you start going more, right? So that's pretty much my questions, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
So I got to look at numbers. I mean, it's like, yeah, I get it. It's definitely more than some of the other stuff I've been looking at. Some of it's comparable. I mean, I just got to look at numbers, dude. I'm hoping to make the decision within the next 2-3 weeks. But yeah, I mean, it sounds good. Like, it makes sense. Like, you're more on the, hey, put them in the current business. The interviews, like, I've already seen, like, how you guys hire or train people. So I'm assuming the crop of people come from people you've trained.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it all. I guess like a question for you is like, what's like the biggest thing you're looking for? Maybe what's the biggest concern? Because like I know you say you're kind of looking at numbers, but based off all the other calls, talking to me, I don't know, like how are you feeling? Like, do you like this? Or you're like, there's some stuff that's missing. Is there? I'd like to kind of get an idea of where your head's at with like what you've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, man. Like, I think again, like obviously, like upfront is the biggest concern. Like for me, also, it's like, do I have the volume, like you said, of leads right now? Should I pump more leads? Should I try to see how many I can get per day, and then wait to do this? Right? That's like where I'm at too. It's like maybe I should start to see how many I can get, how many calls I can get on a per day basis. Before I bring on a closer where they're going to have to like, I would rather them just come in and do inbound, just better. Like outbound's annoying, as you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks for the closers to do outbound too. So
Yeah.
that's where my head's at. Obviously, pricing too. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that because like out of all the calls you've had, do you feel like anyone's gonna offer more than what we do, or like is there any like I guess like what I want to know is like price aside, does this sound like the best program, or you're kind of like
You're like on like yeah, you're up there, top 3, I'd say.
okay,
Yeah.
what did you like better about some of the other programs?
Well, some of them are similar, right? Where they'll put you like, because you don't really learn until you get in it.
Sure.
So some of them are similar, right? Where it's like, I don't really know what is in it until you get in it.
Sure.
So a lot of them will say kind of stuff like this, where it's like, they'll go in, we're going to like work with them, set up like contract or set up like your sales script. So that's my thing, right?
Okay.
Like, I don't know.
So what would make you, like price aside, we'll talk about that, but I'm just curious, like what will make you feel confident and make a decision? Because part of it, obviously, like whenever you're deciding, there's no 100% way to know, obviously, but like what's going to make you feel the most comfortable? Because maybe I can explain it to you, like what would make you feel the most comfortable to move forward, if anything. Like I'm just like, I'm here to help. So it's like if there's other stuff that they're not saying that you're like, well, if I knew this, like what else could I tell you that would make you feel like, okay, yeah, like if you can do that, then for sure.
I mean, it's a good question. Price aside,
because I really feel like we have the best product. So if there's something that we don't do, or you're like, hey, like I don't know, you didn't say this, like maybe I just missed it, or I didn't have the opportunity to tell you. So like,
also like just like in general models too, like where like some of them like there'd be nothing up front and you just pay them per close, right? Thing too, right? So that's like different than having in-house, and I understand where you're coming from too. Like better to have it in-house versus out. So right now I'm just like between like in-house or outsource. Right now I'm between, if I'm gonna in-house, which one is the best versus price.
sure.
And like pricing is fairly similar-ish. It's kind of bounces around. Part of me is worried that like I don't, if I want to get support after the 3 months, like a month after is like pretty high too. So
Sure.
like that's like I
Well,
should look at numbers too.
it just depends on what level of support you want. So the first thing is like, again, like it's your call, but I would not do outsourcing because you're paying for all the leads, you're taking all the risk. They take 20% of the sale. I already know they take 20%, 15 or 20 at least. They're not doing 10. Doesn't make sense. So you're going to give up all control. You're paying for all the leads. If they lose nothing, you're taking all the risk. That never works out. That never works out because they don't care. Like if they don't close your deal, so you get like, okay, so what? Like, that's just my 2 cents on that. The other option is like, if you want support after, it's a month probably, but it wouldn't be unless you want us to do everything. I'm talking like ongoing management. You're like, Tanner, I'm hiring your team to basically run my sales team. So you're paying a month for a sales manager. Like, that's not a lot. If you're just like, hey, I just need some more like help, or I want them to continue to get coaching. They have the sales reps have lifetime coaching to our group. So they get lifetime access to the portal and they get lifetime access to the group. So they can get coaching as many times as they want. So that will never end. So they would have like lifetime access coaching. It just depends on your level. Did that answer that question? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. I mean, it's a month for me Canadian, but I get it. Like if you want them to fully manage the sales team, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, like all I'm trying to do is like, I know you said 2 to 3 weeks. My goal, obviously, with this call, transparently, is like, I want to make you as comfortable to make a decision now as you can. So is there anything besides price that like is holding you back? I know you said it sounds similar, but I guess in that case, if they do, you got to look at the companies and be like, who do you align with more, like as the face of the company? And then like, what's their experience? What's their specificity? What level of attention are they going to give you? There's really nothing else to look at. So a lot of times I tell people, it's like, I've been in business for 6 years. We've done 70 million in sales. You know, the level of attention is going to be extremely high. I don't think your reps, most of these programs, it's group. They're not doing one-to-one Zooms, dude. It's a lot of volume. It's hard. And then specificity is like, are they selling or have they sold stuff you're trying to sell?
What would you say, like, what the stuff that you're doing with these reps, like, what is the highest impact for the reps, like, and like for using you guys? Like, would it be like the fact that you guys review the sales calls, like the recordings, and give them feedback? Like, what's the highest impact you would say? That's something that I couldn't do myself, or just like what you've seen is the highest impact that you guys are giving? Is it the coaching? Is it like, if you could pick 2 or 3 things, what's the highest impact?
Well, I mean, it's going to be 2 things. The first is like, we can do way more interviews than you because we interview them first and then they come in and we certify them. So like, you're busy as so let's say best case, you take 20 interviews and you pick from them. We can do like 100 or 200 interviews. So we're already sending you the best candidates because we've whittled them down. So that's number one. Like, it's just time. Like, you don't have that time. I have full-time recruiters. That's all they do is take interviews all day. So that's number one. And then number 2 is, yeah, the level of training, because they have a one-to-one dedicated coach where they can DM them all day. You know, you said that bothered you. Doesn't bother us. That's part of their job. And then they're reviewing sales tape. And then we also do role plays so they can role play with someone. That's a pain in the ass for you because you have to take time out of your day. And then we also review their calls. So, I mean, yeah, it's like the training, but it's also the amount of interviews you're going to get. Like, you're not going to interview anywhere near as many reps as us. Plus, we have a bigger Rolodex and we're a bigger company. So we get more clout that way. It's part of why is doing so well with recruiting, because he's a buddy of mine. Like, he's a big face. And so they're able to recruit really good talent. Guess what they do? They take the talent, they put it in their portfolios. So it's the same thing here. Like, I can probably recruit better talent than you just because I'm a little bit more known. So that it's like, it's those factors and facets. But, you know, the level of fulfillment we do, dude, is insane. Like, there's not any program that's doing 3 group calls a day on role plays, discovery, and live game tape, plus one-to-one Zooms with the sales rep, plus unlimited messaging, plus portal and lifetime access. So they can still get group training forever, and you wouldn't pay another dime. I don't think anyone else is doing it.
Like, you guys put us in the Slack together, or like, how does that work? Do I see the Slacks that are happening?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, of course. Like, yeah, of course, because it's like, you want to see what we're doing and what's happening. Of course, yeah. So you get your own private base camp. That's like a project management, and then you'll get put in Facebook Messenger with your sales rep. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I know. Obviously, like, we want to make the decision today. I can't make the decision today. I got to look at my numbers. I put a spreadsheet together, kind of, where I'm looking at different analysis. So
is it mostly price though? I mean, most of what it sounds like is you're a little worried about like pricing.
I mean, price is like there, like, but it's not like, you know, like, it's not crazy. It's. I get it. Obviously, price is a thing, but I would say for me right now, it's like, I got to look at my direction. I got to look at like options, like just all the different companies we're looking at, the different directions we're going to take. So pricing is one of them, but it's not all of it.
Sure. Before we wrap up, I guess I just want to make sure like I'm super clear on what we offer. Like, is there anything that I didn't say that you feel like you need that we wouldn't have in this program? Because the way I view it is obviously like, if you're looking at all the companies, it's like, who has the most value for the least amount of money? Makes sense. Yeah. That's what most people do. So is there anything that I haven't described that we'll do that someone else has said, well, we also do this, that you feel like you need? Because if I know, then I can tell you if we can do it or not. Because after that, it's like, if you feel we're the best, then we just discuss pricing.
The hard part for me is because, like, again, you don't, like, I don't know 100% what's in the program. Like, so I can't, like, it's easy to be like, we do all this stuff, but
Sure.
like, because like, do you know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. Because like, I've heard that like, so, and I wouldn't expect to see that, because obviously I wouldn't expect to see that because that's what's in the program. So for me, it's just like, okay, I gotta make a judgment call, I guess. And then, yeah, I don't think like there's really anything you said that, you know, that comes up now, like that I can think of now. But what I can do is I can definitely give you a decision like by like Wednesday. Or if I need to hop on another call with you, I don't know if you do another call, but if you don't, I can give you a decision.
I mean, all I want to do is give you all the information so you can decide. And like, I don't want you to feel like you're guessing. So are you saying the biggest thing for you is to like see behind the window a little bit to kind of see what's in there? Like, what do you want to see?
I mean, like, I wouldn't expect to see behind the window. So I wouldn't expect it. It's just like, if there's two companies that are similar and they're saying like, we do kind of this, where it's like, we do, like, we give the sales scripts and the KPIs and we'll like meet with one-on-one and the coaches. Like, for me, it's just like a kind of a,
kind of like seeing that a little bit, kind of like, okay, here's how this looks.
I wouldn't expect to see it though, because that's obviously not like, you know what I mean? That's what you're paying for. So
no, it's okay.
Like,
it's okay. Okay, so what if we did this? Here's my hypothetical, and then we'll wrap up, because like, you've been a champ. I appreciate, like, you've answered everything 100 times. I just like to make sure I'm clear. Okay, so here's what I would recommend. If price is not the biggest thing for you and it's really seeing that, what if we did this? You put down 10% deposit, $780. You do it in Canadian if you want, I don't care. I'll send you a detailed loom on all that stuff. If you like it, we move forward. If you don't like it, you're just like, yo, that's not what I want. I'll just refund you. We won't even have a phone call. I'll just send it back to you. Would that work? No pressure either. I'm just like, if that's all it is, you put down a deposit so I know I'm not wasting my time completely. I'll send you the loom. I'll send it today. If you literally don't like it, you just text me back. I promise I won't try to like get back on the phone. Just, hey, that's not what I want. I'll refund you, and then we move forward so we don't have to like waste time. If you do like it, you're like, hey, that's what I want. I'm gonna come on board next week at this time or whatever, and then we'll get your stuff ready. That's what I would recommend, because then that way it's just like a win-win, and you'll get done today and you don't have to like worry about it. That's your call. That's what I would recommend. But if you can put down a refundable deposit, it's refundable. I'll shoot you the loom and I'll show you the whole back end. If there's something you don't see, let me know. If you see it and you're like, hey, that sucks, I'll just refund you. But I don't want to stress you out. That's just like, that's what I would want to send you that, but I'm happy to send that stuff to you if that's going to put your mind at ease, because I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that's where it's.
Yeah, because you want to see it.
I don't expect to see that stuff, like, because I get it. That's what you're paying for, but that's also where I'm like, oh, like, I don't know.
I'm happy to show it to you if you can put down the refundable amount, and then you just give me until I have a free moment today. And then, like I said, you've been a great call, dude. Like, I've really enjoyed the call. Like, even if you don't buy, but then that way I can send it to you. I just don't like sending stuff before I get a little micro commitment, because then I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like, guys, can I talk to all your clients? I'm like, you didn't even put anything down. But if you can put down a refundable amount, I'll send it back to you by the end of the day if you don't like it. I think that would be fair, and then that way it could put your mind at ease. And I don't think anyone else will offer that. I'm just very confident what we do. I just know, like, if you work with us, you'll get a way better service than someone else.
So, I mean, the only thing is, dude, like, again, like, I do want to look at other stuff too.
Sure.
I don't care about putting the deposit. I can put the deposit. I don't know if I'd be able to get back to you by today.
Well, whenever. Like, all I'm saying is, if you can put down a deposit, I'll send it to you. You do your thing. You tell me when you're going to ready for a decision. But that way, it's just like, it's a micro commitment. You're not fully committed, but it's like, hey, I feel pretty good. I want to see what Tanner sends me. And then if you don't like it, I swear to God, you just text me. I'll refund you. I won't like try to get you on a call or anything, because like, you've been a good call, dude, and I think you're being straight up. Like, I've taken 1 million sales calls. I know when someone's me, and like, I kind of know, I can kind of tell, and I think you're being super truthful, and so I'm like,
yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like, yo, it's like literally like, because I've had some of these calls where they'll be like, yo, I do all these things. We're gonna do this in the back end, boom, boom, boom. But it's like, yo, if I don't know what the back end is, but I don't expect to pay to see the back end. So I'm just kind of making a decision on like, this is kind of what the guy said. I don't know, dude. It's like, I mean, listen, I'll put the deposit down, like, if you want to take the deposit. But again, if I shoot you an email, like, I'm going to talk about it with my team as well. Sure. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk to like, and then, you know, again, if I shoot you an email back and say, hey man, like, I wouldn't mind reviewing it until like Friday or something, because I don't really want to, again, like, if I'm going to go with you guys, then we'll make the decision and we'll just go with it. But if not, then I don't know.
Yeah, just like that's what I said. We'll do a deposit right now. That way you can get off the phone, get back to your day. I will send you a loom as detailed as I can. If you see something where you're like, yo, can I see this? Just tell me, because if I miss something, it's an accident. And then if after you see everything and you're convinced, you're like, yo, this is not for me, then you just tell me, you send me a text, I'll send it back. I'm not gonna try, like I said, I'm not gonna try to hard sell you. I'm not gonna try to like get you back on the phone. I think you're being super fair. But for me, that will make me feel comfortable to send it to you because,
Yeah.
like I have calls where they're like, hey dude, like, this and this, and I'm like, okay, can you do a refundable deposit? Like, well, no, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to like spend all my time doing this for you if you're not going to do that, but if you can do this, that
I
lets
don't even
me,
expect you to go into too much detail, dude. It's just like for me, I'm literally like, you get where I'm at. Like,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
so then I mean, but let me actually like review. Like, I don't want to just like, can I review it till Friday? Can I text you on Friday?
yeah, bro, you can review you can take till next week because once you show me a micro commitment, like once you show me a micro commitment, it's fine.
Okay,
Like,
dude, send me the link, man.
yeah. Well, I have it pulled up. Are you cool to do it right now before I get on another call?
Let's do it. Let's
Okay.
do it. Yeah, man.
Okay, so it's just $780. As soon as you're ready, I just need your card, and then we'll wrap up.
Cool. And then if I shoot you a text and say, hey, man, I looked at all the program options, and for whatever reason, like it's not going to work out, you just send it back.
Yeah, 100%. And you got my word, dude. Like, and the good news is, like, even if I'm the world's worst person, I lie. The beauty here is you're not signing an agreement. You charge back, you get it. But I mean, I'm not gonna do that because.
Yeah, I trust you. I trust
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Cool. All right. So whenever you're ready. From Fit Tiger LLC. That's our legal entity. Our DBA's elite closers for this offer, but it's gonna say Fit Tiger LLC. I will send you a loom by end of day, and then you just connect with me. And then yeah, after you see the loom, if you're not convinced, I will feel satisfied that we are not a fit for you. Okay?
Yeah, and let me actually do my like. I want to put you in my spreadsheet. I'll have my little analysis. I'll see the loom, and I'll give you I'll pretty much know by Friday. I got 2 more calls coming up. So I'll let you know.
And then if
Friday,
you have like any questions too, just remember if I forget something, sometimes it's just I don't think of it. But yeah, just ask, and then yeah, dude, I'll send you by the end of the day. We'll go from there. Okay.
So my email.
See you, man.